Morning, Vietnam.
Good morning, Vietnam. That's what Leanne said. Good morning, second period. Just want to prove to you there are people in the room here. If they don't consent to being on video, they're turning around for you. But we're going to talk about the W-2 tax form. We've already decided this is the best subject of the year in here. Actually, that's not true. The W-2 form, I have to wear a mask because there's students here. The W-2 form is a tax form delivered once a year to you as a taxpayer if you have a paycheck. And we've talked about the tax season's coming, so April 15th, we all rectify our taxes with the government, which means if I paid too much in tax for the year, they give me a little bit back. If I did not pay enough in tax, then I owe a little bit more. On April 15th, I have to write a check to the government. So the W-2 form is used to report on everything you made for the year for one job. Each job will give out its own W-2. So we're going to look at an example here, and we're going to write some notes on it while we're doing the video. I'm going to put myself down here in the corner, see how that goes. Okay, so this is live too. Here's my hand. I always look like pink and sunburned in a video. All right, this is the W-2, and it's got things on here that I don't know what they are, right? Let's go at this a different way than usual. Let's say I don't know what this is. What is this? OMB code? I don't know. Those are things I don't know. Let's see, what else don't I know? I can recognize an address. Well, I've never seen this number before. Don't know what that is. And it's actually not important to my taxes necessarily. Don't know what this means. That doesn't seem important. It's just a funny little number in the top corner. It doesn't have a reference in the box or anything. Doesn't explain what it is. Some of these things that are not filled out, well, I don't know what those are. They don't have any numbers in them. Let me turn that so you can see my face. Okay, so I'm writing on here. I'm just making some notes. I'm going to put my name at the top. And I'm going to put my date so I can put things in sequence when I'm studying for a test. Okay. In the Google Classroom today, you're going to find a list of questions on this W-2 and on a second W-2. In class, it's on the back side of this piece of paper. But these are the questions. Refer to the W-2 provided to answer the questions below. All right, let's get used to this W-2 by looking at these questions just in general first. Okay, what state was the employer's main office? Okay, we can figure that out because there's addresses. What was the sum of the federally taxable wages for the year? Okay, so we're looking for a sum, a total. All right, what percentage of income was withheld for federal income tax? Okay, and then it tells me kind of how to do it. And there are 1, 2, 3 questions that are going to ask for percentages. So this is why we practiced.
I just didn't know if it had a backside of numbers.
Fractions, decimals, and percentages. We're going to need that math here to answer 3 through 5. Excuse me. And lastly, did this person pay state income tax? If so, what state? Okay. So those are our general questions, and they're in the Google Classroom with individual spaces to answer. So if you follow along today, we'll be done with half of the assignment by the time we... All right. W-2s often look this way, kind of like a letter. This is the from. This is the employer's name. This is who's paying. And this is the to. So this guy's name or lady's name is Dr. B. Money, 80 Work Hours Way, Sleepless Hollow, New York, 11222. This is the employee, employer, and employee. Control number? I don't know what that is. With any government form, there's going to be things we don't understand. But I'm kind of working my way down this left side. This is why W-2s are private. This is doctored Social Security number, SSN. So this is a private document. I would not take a picture of this and put it on the internet. This is somebody's private information. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's obviously a fake Social Security number, but this is where yours would be at the top. Okay. We've kind of looked at these boxes labeled B, C, D, and E, and that's where the letters end. And now the boxes have a label, so this number 1 is a label or a reference. This won't take long if you guys stay with me. This is a label, they'll refer to box 1 here. This is box 1. Okay, let's figure this out, this first question here. In what state was the employer's main office located? Employer. Where is the employer? What do you guys think? What state is it?
New York.
Yeah, well, like an address. It's a 2-letter code for state. And if we were taking a test and you weren't sure what the 2-letter code is, you could ask me or look it up on Google. This one is New York. So just like that, we've answered a question here. This one, number 1 in your Google Classroom is going to be New York. That is the state. What was the sum of their federally taxable wages for the year? Okay, so it's a total. Now, we're going to look here at box 1. Wages, tips, and other compensation. That is my total for the year, and then we're going to talk about why this is. So the answer to this one is box 1, and it's $55,000. That's how much this doctor made in taxable wages. Federally taxable wages. If I look at boxes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they are talking about other figures that come from income. Look at the number in Social Security wages. It's higher. This amount, $60,000, is not what is taxed. We are only taxed on $55,000. Social Security has a higher total. This is pretty common. Medicare is considered a higher total. This is my paycheck gross value before some things are pulled out for taxes and deductions. But my real taxable income here is $55,000. There have been deductions, and this is the money I will be taxed on officially by the government. Like if I had an investment for a 401k come out of $60,000, it contributes to why this is less, because I'm not taxed on my 401k. Okay. The federal income tax withheld goes with this one. So these two are paired. The Social Security tax withheld goes with Social Security wages. These two are paired. So I'm writing the word paired there. The Medicare wages and tips goes with the Medicare tax withheld. That number is the amount of tax taken out for Medicare. Then these are empty, and that's okay. 7, 8, doctors don't make tips, so there's no 8. They didn't get Social Security tips. There's no tipping in medicine, so 7 and 8 are blank. This doctor did not have any dependent care benefits, so there's no daycare for kids. You get a tax break for how much you spend on daycare. But this doctor doesn't have a kid in daycare, so they don't get a tax break there. 12A, 12B, 12C, these are special situations. And on the back of a real W-2, they will define what these are so you can look them up. I do know that this doctor has a retirement plan because it's there in a checkbox. They have a retirement plan. It looks like the state of New York had an additional subtraction from taxes here. And then there's information below in number 15, and this word says state. And this is where you find state taxes. Texas does not have a state income tax, but New York does. So these are the amounts that New York considers for collecting their state income tax. And actually here at the right, New York City. So if you work in New York City, you are taxed by the federal government, the state government, and there's a city tax. Okay, let's go back to our questions here. Keep up with making notes here, and you'll have some explanation for where these dollars come from, where these amounts come from. And I see what percentage of income was withheld for federal income tax, and it says box 2 divided by box 1 multiplied by 100. These are just the instructions for calculating a percentage. But I've been given the boxes that I will use to figure those out. So I'm going to write a 3 down here, and you guys could put this somewhere on your paper or directly into your Google Classroom for an answer. Okay. What percentage of income was withheld? So I look here, and $4,000 was the federal income tax withheld. So that's going to be on top of my fraction. And I'm going to divide that by my wages, tips, and other compensation at the federal level, this box number 1. It says box 2 divided by box 1 times 100. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and put the times 100 right here. If I do this fraction first, you could put it into a parentheses. That will give me a decimal answer. 4,000 divided by 55,000. Well, I know it's going to be less than 10% or so because it's not 5,500. It's going to be less than 10%. Divide one by the other, and I get 7.3%. So the doctor makes his money, and during the year, they took 7.3% of his wages, and that went to federal taxes. We need to do this 2 more times, once for Social Security tax and once for Medicare tax. These 2 are mandated by law. By law, Social Security taken from your check is 6.2%. And by law, they may not take an additional penny or dollar. Medicare tax is 1.45%. So we're going to check that math and make sure we are being taxed fairly here. So I'm going to write a number 4 down here. I look into my document. Okay, I have Social Security tax withheld is 3,720, and the Social Security wages is a higher number, $60,000. Okay, that said, 3,720 divided by 6,000 times 100. This gives me my decimal. And this one will give me my percentage by multiplying times 100. I put these two into my calculator. 3720 divided by 60,000 times 100 comes to exactly 6.2%. This is correct by law. So at the end of the year, if I got one of these for a job, I would check this, make sure I'm being taxed at a rate of 6.2%. If this is 6.5%, there's been a mistake and somebody owes me money. And this is how people catch mistakes in their paychecks and in their annual summary of wages. Number 5. What percentage of income was withheld for Medicare tax? By law, this should be 1.45%. Box 6 divided by box 5 multiplied by 100. Okay, here I go. Box 6 is 870, and box 5 is that $60,000 number again. $870 were withheld from my paychecks, and the total income for that category is $60,000. Multiplied times 100 does come to 1.45%. We're doing good, team. Thanks for your patience. Number 6 says, did this person pay state income tax? If so, what state collected those taxes? What do you guys think? Are there state income taxes collected on this document? There are. They'll be found in the boxes at the bottom, 15 through 20. The top is about the federal. These are all federal. This is the federal government, the United States. This is about federal. If you paid any sort of state or local tax, it is at the bottom. I'm going to put a big circle. So this could be state, could be county, or could be city. In Texas, we do not pay state income tax. Let's put that down. In Texas, there is no state income tax. No state income tax. Now, we pay to the government in other ways. We have a higher sales tax than other places. So it depends on how your state does their government. Some states have high fuel taxes. Some states have high property taxes. They all have to function making money to build county roads and state roads. They do it in different ways. We have 50 states. I bet not one of them is exactly the same. In Texas, there's no state income tax. This is especially popular with our retirees, our winter Texans, our snowbirds, because they're not taxed even if they live here for 6 months a year. They don't pay a state tax on their income. But they pay 8.25% on sales tax, which is higher than some places. Oregon, for example, has no state income. Has no sales tax. You get a coffee in Portland, Oregon, it says $3.50, you pay exactly $3.50, no tax added. So our answer to number 6 here, did this person pay state income tax? Yes, they did. State of New York. And we're using 2-letter codes because that's what's on tax forms. This one is New York. They also paid New York City tax. Okay. Trying to keep things as big and visible as possible. This is kind of like the anatomy of a W-2 form. It says down here in the corner, this is my W-2 wage and tax statement for the year 2017. We went over that there's a federal piece of this. There's a state and local piece of this at the bottom. And in the middle, you will find details about your specific tax situation. There is a retirement plan, and I'm guessing it's this one. I would have to look at codes on the back to understand what these are. We won't get into that level of detail, but these might be specific numbers that I need when I file my taxes. Here's my from, the employer, and here's my to. My social security number is on here. The employer identification number, this is like the social security number for the business. So those of you in the room, if you flip yours over, you're going to find a second W-2. And this is the source of the questions that come next in the Google Classroom. Answer the first 6 on our front page, and then you will answer these individually as Mr. Adcock and I walk around, trying to figure out how to answer those questions for this second W-2 that looks more like a real one to me. Thanks for your attention today. We hope everybody at home is doing pretty good. We think about you. Have a good rest of your week.